This is 2OF Entertainment.
Howdy! Today I'm reviewing the Scotch Malt Whisky Society latest release, cask number 11.43 Forget Me Not. This is an 8-year bottled at the low proof of 120.4. Nothing too aggressive here. And it's aged in an ex-bourbon cask and finished in a second fill Sauterne hogshead. And for those of you who don't know what Sauterne is, it's a type of dessert wine that's composed of Semillon, Sauvignon Blanc, and Muscatel grapes, and it's been affected by noble rot. And what that means is there's a fungus that grows on the outer skins of the grapes, and it latches on, and that's how the grape retains its sugar. So some of the Sauternes I've had has a little bit of that honey profile, a little bit of peach, but then there's a little bit of funkiness. So imagine eating blue cheese and you're drizzling honey over it, and you find that the sharp cheese is balanced by the sweetness of the honey, and it creates a much more complex flavor profile. And for those of you who are curious about the scientific word of noble rot, I'm going to attempt to say it, even though I'll probably butcher it because I am a disappointing Asian. My mother reminds me every day, I'm totally terrible at math and science. And one time I lamented and said that to my friend, and he said, "You're not a disappointing Asian, you're an alternative Asian," which made me feel good for a hot second. But now that I'm attempting to say this scientific term, I'm gonna feel like a disappointing Asian again. But it's called Botrytis cinerea. Very weird. So that's going to be a really fun party conversation, to have, aside from talking about dogs and cats and how people's dates are. So there you have it. You're welcome. Anyways, I have to be honest. When I first tried this expression, I wasn't really keen on it. I don't think I even liked it because I felt like it was too funky and I had the gym socks action going on. And I have to say that with Scott and I, my colleague, we do these live YouTube streams releases, and I really appreciate what he has to say. I really respect him. And sometimes you'll see I just forget to talk because I want to hear what he has to say because I'm always learning something new, and he just has an incredible palate, and he was really excited and he loved this whiskey, and he made me appreciate this whiskey, and he taught me something new about this particular expression. So that's why I'm so excited to review it again. And yes, in the beginning, this had that funky freshness to it, and the gym socks was apparent for me, and I wasn't keen on it. And so in it was fighting with the sugary tone, and I felt like it's kind of like having two strong personalities in the kitchen. You have the wife and the wife's mother-in-law, and you as a married man standing in the kitchen, you're like, I can't side with anybody, I need to be neutral. And there's a huge chance that you will disagree with your wife, but you will never admit that you would side your mom because she does stuff to your body that your mama would never do, right? So there you have it. That's my take on this whiskey in the initial flavor profile. But once it settles in, then the funkiness starts to dissipate, and then it's balanced out by these beautiful notes of honey. And then there's a little bit of an overtone of like minerality and golden grapes. So that was really good. And I got like an aftertaste of chocolate Tootsie Rolls. So when I think about this whiskey and that funkiness, this idea about noble rot, I couldn't help but think of Ralph Vaughan Williams Symphony Number 6 in E minor. Yesterday, I went to see the Pacific Symphony perform, and it was incredible. The conductor, Matthew Hall, said that when Ralph Williams wrote this particular piece, this was a direct reaction to the end of the war and he was in his 70s, near the end of his life. And so this piece was about exploring death and life after death. And in the end, he personally believes that he is music. He becomes music. So it's really beautiful to hear that jarring sound where there's no resolution, but then 5 minutes to it, you might feel, oh, there's a sense of optimism. And beauty and music is so powerful in that regard, right? You have this sort of moments where it makes you feel uneasy, and it took me through that place in the beginning with this like weird funkiness to it, and but it was like layered, and it made me think a lot. And so even though this in the beginning had no resolution, like Ralph Vaughan Williams' music, it changed and it shifted to what I link to as that HBO show's series Succession. That song is really, to me, really powerful and very incredible because it has a little bit of that uneasiness, but that tenuto like rhythm and sound makes it calming, but you're also at the edge of your feet too. And so what tenuto is, it's different from staccato. So staccato has more of like an abrupt sound, like very boop, boop, boop. And then with tenuto, you're leaning into the piano and you're finding that balance of sounding not too prickish and not too soft and gentle. So it's in between. So rather than a sharp sound, it's very boop, boop, boop. There's still a break, but it's not abrasive like a Tiger Mom. It's a little bit more gentle. So it shifted after it settled in the bottle for a week, and that's what I appreciate about this whiskey. It's dense, it's interesting, it's a very fascinating piece, and I also can't help but think of Kenzaburo Oe's A Personal Matter. This is an incredible Japanese writer, and he was heavily influenced by a French style where they found the art in decay, like being able to describe something that's grotesque but making it beautiful. And the storyline is very, very challenging, and it makes you feel uncomfortable, but the way he uses words and language just startles you into alertness and just makes you think, wow, I can really, really get down with this text. And so this whiskey to me just really embodies all of that symphony, Kenzaburo's book. And so I just have a greater appreciation thanks to Scott, my colleague, who you should watch the Scotch test of me. He's really good. So I'm gonna try this again. So now that it's been settled and it's been sitting in the glass and also in the bottle, the honey kind of dies down, but there's almost this balance of golden raisins and prunes and cashews. And so this is really good. I have to say, when I exhale and breathe it out, I can still get a little bit of that funkiness, but it's not overt to the point where it's off-putting. It's really come around, and Scott said this is most likely gonna be his top 5 for the year, and he was saying you gotta buy 2, it's so good. And I'm really enjoying this, and I'm really surprised how my opinions have shifted. And that just shows you how fascinating whiskey is. It's a lot like people. You have your core personality, and then you have other different sides. They're you as somebody who works in the office, you who you interact with a boss, you as a friend, you as your friend to your cats or your dog. And there's layers and dimension, and I think that's just so exciting. So I'm gonna have a little bit of drops of water just to see how it changes. So I find that with a few drops of water, it does get a little bit drier, but then the spiciness pulls through, and there's almost this staccato-like feel on the tongue where the peppercorn spices are kind of bouncing, and that creates a really fun textural movement to it. And in the beginning, when I first had this with water, it had like an API feel, IPA feel, like a little bit of a pith, grapefruit tone, a little bit of that bitterness. But then now that it's settled, that bitterness has died down, and you still get a little bit of that dryness and that peppery tone. But now there's like cashews coming in here. Not so much a bitter lemon, but now I get Capri Sun tropical fruits. Capri Sun, that drink, it's a kid's drink. Not that I still drink it as an adult, but I should, because it was delicious. So definitely still get top notes of that minerality, those wet stones, wet granite, and but then there's that nutty profile. As you can hear, there's some jarring music in the background. That's Ralph Williams. And I wanted to play that just so you can kind of hear that music. I personally wish I could play HBO Succession, but I don't know if Instagram would flag that down as copyright infringement. So I decided to err on the side of caution. But there you have it. That nuttiness just comes out. This is a really fun whiskey. I'm just really glad that I got to try this more than once in 3 different occasions, because it's taught me that you should never make first impressions of things or people, and just give it a go. And sometimes we'll come across a whiskey, I'm like, oh man, you suck. And some people are like that too. Like me, I'm kind of. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed it.